Hi there, and welcome back to Publishing Power. My name is Joellen, and we are co-hosting today with Christina Stanley from Fictionary. And we are talking about the 38 story elements of fiction writing. Christina, catch us up and let's continue on our journey here.
Okay, so up till now in the process, we have looked at all of the story elements that are related to characters. And today we're going to start looking at the story elements related to plot. And the first one on that list is naming a scene.
Exactly. Having the name of the scene, super important, not just to figure out what you're talking about, but to really keep everything concise and together. Tell us more.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing about naming a scene. I've interviewed hundreds of editors worldwide. And when I ask them what's the biggest issue they see with a writer, is that they don't know when to start and end a scene. And so working on a scene by scene basis is really important for your overall story and the flow of the story. And so what we want to talk about today is naming a scene is going to help you focus on how do you break your novel out into scenes so that you have great flow.
Okay. So what are the things we need to consider when we're going to name our scene?
Right. So the first thing you want to look at is you want to read your scene, assuming that you have broken already out into scenes for your story. So let's assume you're at that point. When you read that scene, you want to try and name it in 3 words or less. And the reason for that is if you can name it in 3 words or less, then that scene has focus. If you can't, it probably doesn't have enough focus to know what the scene is about. And if you, as the writer, or a person editing the story don't know what the scene is about, the reader's not going to know what it's about either.
Okay, so if we have more than 3 words, are we going to make more scenes? Are we going to cut down that scene? What's our best approach here?
Right. So if you can't name the scene in 3 words or less, and I'm not talking about little words like a, you can have those extra ones, but basically 3 big words. What you want to do is look at the scene and look at how long it is. So is it 1,000 words? That's a nice length for a scene. Is it 5,000 words? That's pretty long for a scene in today's market where people read on small devices. So there's a scene where you could look at cutting into pieces. And to do that, read through the scene and look at places where the point of view changes, or the timing of the scene changes, or the setting changes. And those are great places to start a new scene. And so the first thing you want to do is look at your word count. Right. And see if there's a way that you can break the scene into more than one scene.
Right. And normally we want the word count to be about even from scene to scene, or at least chapter to chapter, right?
It can be, and that depends on the style of the author. So some authors, I know one who writes 2,000 word scenes and that's her style for the entire novel. Lots of other authors use the word count for pacing. So if a scene is shorter, it's going to appear faster. If it's longer, it's going to appear slower. And so leading up to the climax, for example, you could go shorter and shorter and shorter. It's getting faster and faster and faster and faster. And then you give a bigger word count to the climax scene because that's a very important scene and you want the reader to really get engaged and stay there with you in that scene.
Okay. So what can we do today to walk away and to better evaluate? We're looking for what's happening and the different things. What's the specific instruction for somebody to look at and fix their scene? First, we have to know if it's 3 words or less. And then after that, we're going to.
So the very specific thing is go through your entire novel and name each scene. And then if you can't, keep track of the ones that you cannot name and figure out why. Is it because there's too much going on? Is it because there's nothing going on? You need to evaluate the scene and try and think like an editor, not a writer. So if somebody else was looking at this, what would they think is the problem? And one of the big tips I always give is if anyone's skimming, then you know there's a problem that the writing is dull and you need to pick it up there. And that's a good one to rewrite. Right. And you want to be organized when you do it. So literally go through from beginning to end. And I guarantee you that by the time you get to the end of your story, you will have a better idea of what it's about. You'll have an outline of your after draft stories so that you've named every scene. You can quickly look through that and find scenes, and you'll see the flow of your whole story based on the scene name. And when you get to the end of this process, already your story is going to be better because you'll understand the flow of the entire story.
Absolutely. And then you're very able to review all those scenes, and you can kind of see the evolution of the story in just the titles, and that should be very helpful to for the review overall, I would think.
I actually think naming the scene is one of the most important story elements because it helps a writer or an editor right out of the gate understand what the story is truly about.
Okay. Well, today is a big assignment. So you need to go through your entire novel and look through, make sure all your scenes are divided if they're not already, and making sure that they all meet within that 3 word title for the scene. That's great.
All right, great.
All
Well,
right.
we'll see everybody next week. Next up is the purpose of a scene, and the scene name leads right into that.
All right. We'll see you in a week. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Try Fictionary Storyteller free for 2 weeks at fictionary.co. Storyteller will get you one step closer to telling that powerful story you dream of.